Hello everybody and welcome to the channel Out of Ammo, Out of Time. I'm your host, as always, Krabby Terror 8, and here we are in episode 41. Can you believe it? Episode 41. Oh, my goodness. Of the Investigator Games Season 1, The Gathering, with everybody's favourite student and Miskatonic scholar, Amanda Sharpe. Yes, now if you are new to the channel, I heartily welcome you. What is it all about? What is this Investigator Games business? Basically, think of it like the Hunger Games. We take each investigator through a scenario, true solo with their starter deck, and we see how they go. And in Season 1, it's the in Season 1, it's the Gathering. In Season 2, they carry on with the Midnight Masks. So we are here in Season 1 with the Gathering. And depending on how they go, they end up in a league table. Not like this one. This is the league table. I've just realized after 41 times saying this, I would say a league table like this one. No, a league table, and this is it. And I have it in front of me for a change. Shock horror. I'm looking at it right in front of me right now. So yes, there's all the 40 so far, yeah, we can see at the very top is Safina Rousseau, and the reason she's at the top is, first of all, she managed to get 7 points, which is a bit of a random draw here in the Gathering, because unless you get one of the special ghouls, you're not going to get 7 XP. So not only that, but she managed to do all of that by turn 11, which meant she has the most XP, and indeed she did things the fastest. Now, if you want to take things in terms of sort of standard, the 6 XP, which is you get all the clues, and spoilers, if you are new to the Gathering, if you are new to Arkham Horror, the card game, please go and play the game in real life first. Please go and seek out introductory videos on how to play. I'm assuming you know the Gathering at least a little bit. I realize people might come here to check out the Investigators. That's fine. But I'm assuming you at least know the Gathering a little bit. So, yep, spoilers. So, sorry, back to what I was saying. If we have a look at this table here, what we can see is that if you take the standard sort of 6 XP that people get if you get the clues in both of the locations and you defeat the Ghoul Priest, you get your 6, 2, 4, 6. And if we look at it that way, then the fastest people have been Diana Stanley and now Sister Mary. Yes, so they have managed to do the Gathering in a blinding only 7 turns, which is so very fast. No one's managed 6 turns. It's technically possible, I guess, with the 6 turns, but what seems to happen is if you kind of get to the place where you could throw in the clues for the 6th turn, typically you don't have the cards ready to defeat the Ghoul Priest. So there seems to be this balance that it's unlikely that an investigator would be so fast and at the same time have the cards in their hand to defeat the Ghoul Priest. But 7 turns is now is still the fastest time. And then we have everyone going down through the different ones till we get to the bottom, the investigators who didn't do well, and Calvin, not surprisingly, is there. So is Zoe. She really didn't do well, as didn't Lola and Father Mateo, so they are languishing there at the bottom of the table. So yes, there's the table. So enough about that. Let's get back to Amanda, who is the seeker in the Innsmouth, not sure, conspiracy. And I always have a special interest in seekers because I like playing them a lot. And Amanda, who I've tested out a couple of times, is a very interesting seeker indeed. So let's talk about her stat line, let's talk about her special abilities, all those sorts of things, and then we'll talk about her deck. So yeah, first of all, the first thing you notice, which is a little bit kind of arresting, is that her stat line is is not what you would expect. Normally, you would expect a Seeker to, have a 4 or a 5 intellect or something like that. But she's got this standard 2-2-2-2 across the board, which means that her special ability really has to have some kind of impact, because she's not relying on some kind of innate ability around Seekers to be better at something than others. It does give her, as we will see, a kind of a flexibility, but it does mean that I wouldn't recommend playing Amanda Sharpe as a new player, because just simply because it's a more complex interaction, and I would probably, if you're a new player and you want to try the Seeker, I'd probably give some of the other Seekers a go who are a bit more straightforward, so a Daisy or an Ursula or someone first, just simply because this one is more reliant on mechanics rather than skill in that way. So her special ability, as we said, is really important, and it's a bit of a system that you've kind of an engine, if you like, that you get used to. It's pretty interesting, really. It's not identical to things like Joe Diamond, but it's along those sorts of lines. But in this case, or even indeed Safina, there's a bit of that as well. So what happens is, at the start of the investigation phase, what happens is you draw a card, you discard the card beneath Amanda Sharpe, so there will be a card underneath her. And then from the cards that you have in your hand, you choose and place a card beneath her. And this is where the most interesting part is, because the card you choose has quite an impact over your investigation phase. There's then a reaction trigger at the start of a skill test you're performing. Commit the card beneath Amanda Sharpe if able. So this isn't like you can do it, you can't do it. You kind of have to do it, and don't discard it when the test ends. So essentially what you're doing is you're setting aside a card under Amanda, which then can be applied 3 times to the next 3 skill tests if possible. So it really changes up the implications of different cards, because cards that might seem quite marginal in other decks become really quite good. And I'll talk about one in particular, which I always ignore, which actually becomes really good. And it also means things like the neutral cards, for example, become quite powerful. But the thing here is that in goes where you're doing various different skill tests, imagine you wanted to evade, you wanted to get a clue, say, and you wanted to parley. That's just, kind of thing. Well, no, that's not a good example. Just say you wanted to evade. Let's say you had to get a clue using willpower, and then you wanted to parley using intellect. Let's say you want to do that. You're really kind of in a bind in a sense, because you've got to try and work out what the best card is to put down. So you've got to kind of anticipate what you're going to be doing for your next 3 moves. So really, there's a lot of decision making at the very beginning of the phase about what card you're going to commit underneath Amanda. Pretty interesting. And then, of course, that card stays under. So through the enemy phase, indeed through the Mythos and encounter phase. So it's a bit of a, there's a bit of randomness there, because it may be helpful, it may not be. And then when your go comes around again, you draw a card, you discard the card beneath Amanda, and then you choose another card, and so on and so on. It's an interesting dynamic. Now, her Elder Sign effect is +0, but for this test, you may double the number of skill icons on the card beneath Amanda Sharpe. So I can see why they've done that. So a very nice effect, as long as it applies, of course. So the only problem with the Elder Sign effect is that if the card you're committing, say you're fighting and it's an intellect card, well, being double number of intellect pips is not going to make any difference. So sometimes it's going to be completely useless, and sometimes it's going to be blindingly amazing. So there's it's a bit swingy from that perspective, because you can't always anticipate what's going to happen in any particular round, and so although probably in solo it's a bit more predictable, I suppose, than in multiplayer where you have multiple people doing things. So there we go. Very interesting investigator indeed. She has just a sort of standard 7/7 for health and intellect strength. So just kind of keeping it sort of standardization in a way for Amanda. So there we go. That's that. Now we just flip the card and have a look at the back. It's the standard deck size of 30. She can take Seeker cards, not surprisingly, 0 to 5, and neutral cards 0 to 5, and any practice skills level 0 to 3. Now, I haven't looked on Arkham DB what other cards they might be, but they're not really reflected in her starter deck, but that does give her some additional cards. And sorry, I should have maybe looked up what some sort of those practiced cards might be. I think there's quite a few, and they could also play quite nicely, particularly with her special ability. So yeah, apart from that, standard deck building requirements, Amanda Sharpe was on track to become one of Miskatonic University's most accomplished graduates. However, ever since she saw a strange painting of an enormous creature's emergence from the depths of the ocean, her classwork has suffered. Her dreams are overwhelmed by images of a vast, submerged city and whispers in a language she does not understand. She remains dedicated to her studies, but her goal is no longer to graduate at the top of her class. Rather, she seeks to discover the meaning behind the occult secrets concealed between the lines of reality. Wow, good stuff. I don't know who writes these little bios, but they're great. They're really well written, and they're really evocative. I really like them. So there we go. That's Amanda Sharpe. Now, let's have a look at her deck. So she has a standard, her signature event. It's a signature event called Obscure Studies. Now, the first thing is it's got 3 wildcard pips on it. So that's very nice. Now, you can fast play it when you initiate a skill test. You can return the card beneath Amanda Sharpe to your hand and place Obscure Studies beneath her instead. So back to that point I said about, you're doing one thing and then another. That could be a very nice way of saving a card for another time and switching it up. So that's really nice. Or alternatively, just putting Obscure Studies under Amanda Sharpe with three wildcard icons is just amazing. So that means for that round, you're playing every skill at +3. So this card is very powerful, albeit for just one round, and so a really, really good card. So yeah, great card, and plays very nicely into her special ability. Now, her signature weakness is called... No, sorry, that's not her signature weakness. I apologize. I'll just move to her signature weakness, which is Whispers from the Deep. This is a little bit like Dreams of the Deep that Silas has. It's a little bit similar to that. So basically, the skills icons subtract from your skill value instead of adding to it. And indeed, when choosing a card to place underneath Amanda Sharpe, if Whispers of the Deep is in your hand, you must choose it. So in other words, for a turn, you're basically working at a -1, essentially, which, it's not terrible. It's annoying. And I suppose if it comes at a bad time, you're just about to take on the Ghoul Priest, it will be kind of pretty bad. Most of the time, though, it's probably not going to be end of the world, and it's only -1, so it's not too bad. But the other way, of course, is that you can you can avoid it ending up under Amanda Sharpe by, I suppose, if you drew it during your normal upkeep phase, would you be able to? You could commit it to the. So, for example, I'm just thinking here. You draw in the upkeep phase. You draw Whispers of the Deep. Mythos phase. You draw an encounter. I don't know, Rotting Remains. You could use it then, get it out of the way, so you could play it as a normal commitment to a skill test and get rid of it before it's your turn. So that's the other way. Another way you can get rid of it would be doing something like that. Now, the random weakness was Day of Reckoning. I've never seen this one before. I really like it as a weakness. Actually, it's a great card, inspired by the events of Arkham Knights 2018. I remember 2018 when we could still run around in public, and anyway. So what you do is you attach a Day of Reckoning to the current agenda, search the Chaos Bag for the Elder Sign token, and seal it on Day of Reckoning. And of course, when the current agenda flips, then that goes. So it only really lasts for the current agenda. So it depends, it could last one turn, it could last a while, depending on what the current agenda is. But yeah, it's great. So, I mean, it's basically you just don't have an Elder Sign token. So there are the sort of the signature cards. Now, there's some new cards in here. The main one being Plan of Action. Now, Plan of Action, of course, works well with Amanda Sharpe, but doesn't have to be exclusively Amanda Sharpe. So along those lines, there's a few cards like this where, depending on when it's played, there's different effects. So this one has a wild card Pip as well. So could put under Amanda Sharpe. If this skill test is during or before the first action of this turn, you get it gets a willpower and an agility. If this skill test is between the first and the third actions, draw a card. The skill test is during the third action. So third action of this turn, during or after, then it gets fight and intellect. So it's a bit situational, because sometimes those, I mean, you've always got the wild card, of course, but sometimes those things will apply and sometimes they won't. So, but the good thing is with Amanda is because it gets played every single time, you would hope that the benefits would play out for you. So quite a good card to put underneath Amanda Sharpe if you get it. So that's Plan of Action. There's 2 of those in the deck. Now, I should also say this deck is the official Fantasy Flight Games starter deck. It's not optimized. It's not ideal. All the investigators use these. So that's what we're playing with. It assumes you've got Innsmouth Conspiracy and the core set, and that's why it doesn't seem as optimum as you would imagine. Now, there's also this other card in here, Deep Knowledge. There's only one of them. It's an event card. So if you play it as an event, which is 0, but you then have to put 2 curse tokens into the Chaos Bag. Investigators at your location draw a combined total of 3 cards. In solo, maybe. I mean, the thing about Amanda Sharpe is that you want to have a fairly good hand of cards, because you want to have good choices. So you want to make sure that you've got plenty of cards in your hand, and so Deep Knowledge would help you do that. Yeah. And two tokens like that, well, essentially you're adding 2 -2s. Well, actually, no, the -2s, and then you draw another card. So, I mean, essentially you would just have to deal with those. There's only 2 of them. So that's that. That's the sort of new ones. Now that all the other cards are all standard cards that people would know from the core set. So there has been this kind of trend of not using neutral cards in more recent starter decks, but this one has a full complement. So it's got Unexpected Courage, Overpower, Manual Dexterity, and Perception. and Guts. Now, normally these cards are pretty good on their own, but with Amanda, they become really supercharged because, for example, you're going to go and fight the Ghoul Priest. You put Overpower underneath Amanda Sharpe. That means you get to use one Overpower card 3 times. So that is amazing. And if you're successful every time, you get to draw a card as well. So this makes these neutral cards super duper powerful. Unexpected Courage, amazing because again, it's wild cards, so you can apply it to anything. So it's like a kind of a slightly weaker version of Obscure Studies. So really powerful cards from Amanda. And even the Barricade, which, I don't think I've ever used Barricade for what it's actually intended for. You can use it to... I guess somebody might use this sometimes, but non-elite enemies cannot move into attached location. Okay, but I've never used it really. But the thing that makes Barricade awesome is it's got 3 pips. It's got willpower, intellect, and agility, and of course you can stick that under Amanda Sharpe. Likelihood is you're going to use at least one of those, so it's very nice from that perspective. Now, there are a couple of allies in here. There's good old Milan Christopher, which if we can get him onto the table, that would be great because he's just very powerful. This isn't, for some reason, their starter decks are not taboo compliant. I mean, they're hard enough to play anyway, so I can understand why. So he's in there. There's a couple of research librarians, which can help you search up for a tome asset, which there are a couple of in here. So, yeah, a couple of allies in there. Then we've got the good old magnifying glass. We've got one of those. We've got a good old working a hunch, and we've got a deduction. So we've got some, not very many. I mean, if you were optimizing this, you'd put more of these in. But we've got some cards for either discovering and Tesla's, getting Tesla's clues. And, of course, the good old flashlight is in here. And that's good because, the seller, with a 2 intellect, we're going to need some of these cards, obviously, in the cellar. Now, the biggest problem with this deck is the ability to fight. So, I'm not sure who put these deck together, but it's really, really tough because there's the knife, and there are 2 of those, and then there's Mind Over Matter, which basically allows you to use your intellect for a turn. For a round. Yes, that makes this really quite tough. So I would say straight off the bat that unless we have Lita Chandler, so the way this is going to have to work if we're going to take on the Ghoul Priest really is we're going to need to have a knife. We're going to need Lita Chandler. I suppose if we've got Overpower with Lita Chandler, and the knife, we would have 2, 4, 5, 6 versus 4. So we could do it that way, or use Mind Over Matter, something like that. But we're kind of limited in what we can do. So the chances of things going horribly wrong and having to resign or get defeated are reasonably high. But if we can get Lita Chandler on board, we should be okay. And then finally, there's a couple of tomes. There's Old Book of Law and Medical Text. There's Hyper Awareness, which I guess with Milan Christopher means we can at least evade reliably. So that's something as well. So there's a lot of ways, if we can get all these things down on the table, then we'll be kind of okay. And then there's a couple of emergency caches. So there we go. That's the starter deck. I don't know what you think. Pretty interesting, I think. It's hard to know with Amanda how it's going to go, actually. And yes, I did have a chat to Amanda in the green room before we started. I think she's nervous. She was reading some tome and sort of trying to take her mind off things by doing some further. And she's there in the study doing some study. But I think she's nervous. She doesn't feel like... she chatted to Harvey. Harvey gave her some pointers. But I don't think she's feeling very confident. especially after Sister Mary's blinding run last week, which is really something to behold. So there we go. The crowds are just moving into the sit down. So while we're waiting for them to just settle, we'll just read through the act and the agenda deck, and then we'll just wait for the horn, and then we're ready to go. So agenda. What's going on? It's late at night and you're holed up in your study researching the bloody disappearances that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into your research, you hear the sound of strange chanting coming from your parlour down the hall. At the same time, you hear dirt churning as if something were digging beneath the floor. And trapped! As you leap to investigate, the door to your study vanishes before your eyes, leaving behind only solid wall. You're trapped inside your study until you can find another way out. Yes, and we are playing obviously on standard difficulty, as we do in all the Investigator games. Oh, there goes the horn. And Amanda closes her book, takes off her glasses, waves at the crowd. The crowd cheers her. She looks very nervous. She's in the study. She is ready to go. And we are ready to go in episode 41 of the Investigator Games. Okay, so here we are, ready to roll. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? I will just shuffle up our deck. It was probably already shuffled, but, just to be sure, we will shuffle up the encounter deck as well. What do we want? Well, having Milan Christopher would be great, so we can get him straight off the bat. That would at least get our intellect up to 3, so that would be nice. I would also like a couple of Tesla's clues, and also any of the neutral cards would be welcome, particularly perception and things like that. So, yeah. Now, before we get going, we've not started our investigation phase because we've not drawn our, so we've got to do that first. So let's draw our 5 cards. Here we go. All right. Well, we're not. That gets taken out. So, flashlight, yeah, that's good. We've got guts and, we've got unexpected courage, very nice. We've got a magnifying glass, we've got deduction. So these are all pretty good. No weapon and no ally. So, yeah, it's hard to know whether what do we do? I think I might keep what we've got, to be honest, because I like these cards. Although, do we get guts? Yeah, I suppose if we get a rotting remains or something like that, then guts is good, or indeed crypt chill. So yes, no, I'm going to keep it. So I think we'll keep these. We'll obviously put this back in, shuffle it up. Okay, so there we go. We've got our 5 cards. Now, the first thing that we do is start of the phase, we draw a card. Now, normally we would discard the card under Amanda Sharpe, but she doesn't have a card at the moment, so that's fine. Then we choose a card to put underneath her. So we've got to choose one of these cards. Now, we know that what we're going to be doing is we're going to be investigating. So this is the thing, you've got to kind of work out what you're going to be doing. So we're going to be investigating. So we want to put a card under there that's going to give us an intellect boost every time. Well, obviously we can bring out the magnifying glass, so that's going to get us to 4. So what I might do is, and you have to put something underneath, I don't want to use unexpected courage. That just feels like overkill. So I'm going to actually put the barricade under here because it has an intellect pip. So let's put barricade underneath Amanda Sharpe. So that's the card we have committed. Now we have to use that. So we have to use that every time, if we're doing skill tests, obviously. So there we go. So we are ready to roll. So what we're going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is do a fast play and bring out the magnifying glass, obviously. Now we could, of course, use deduction and get both of the clues really super fast. But I'm feeling like we should probably keep that for the seller. Yeah. So I'm probably going to hold that for now. And probably keep it for later. Or indeed, if we don't need it, then we'll always need it for Lita Chandler, I suppose. So there we go. We're still fast play, so we've still got 3 actions. So first action, I don't think we need to bring out the flashlight yet. So first action, we will investigate in the study. So 2, we are a 3, and also, of course, the barricade max is a 4 because we have to commit it every time. So we're a 4 versus a 2. We're 2 up. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed and we get that clue. There we go. Second action, we will investigate again. Same thing. And we get a -2, and that's fine because we're a 2, we're a 3, we're a 4. 4 versus 2, 2, so we get that as well. Whoops. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Okay, so we've got both of the clues. Great. What do we do for our final action? Because what we could do is we could throw in the clues and get to the hallway. But Amanda Sharpe isn't really much of a fighter, I have to say. And so what I would prefer to do is that if we draw a ghoul minion or rats or ravenous ghoul or something, we can dispense with that, and we can start. Otherwise, if we get to, we can go to the hallway now and get up to the attic, but then if we draw something, we're going to have to try and fight it, and we're not really in much of a position to fight anything at the moment. So I think for my final action, I think I'm going to draw a card, even though it's not good to draw a card on your last go. Manual dexterity. I just think the more cards we have, the better off we're going to be, because then we've got more choices when it's time for Amanda to put something underneath. So there we go. That was a pretty good round all round. We got the clues really easily with a combination of magnifying glass and barricade. And at the same time, we also, so we did that and then we drew a card. So we are ready to go next time into the hallway. So there we go. We will move into the enemy phase, or yes, the enema phase, as I like to call it. There are no enemies. So we'll move into upkeep and we get a research librarian. So that's rather nice. It would have been better to get Malign Christopher, but you get what you get. Okay. So, okay, we will move into the first Mythos phase. I realized I'm kind of taking a little bit of a risk here, of course. Not that I could have put the flashlight out, but then that wouldn't matter because I wouldn't get rid of the flashlight. But if we get a crypt chill, we may be saying goodbye to the magnifying glass. We'll see how we go. And there's only one of them in the deck. Anyway, let's see what the Mythos phase has for us. The encounter deck. And it's got Rotting Remains. Rotting Remains. Well, thought this might come up. So we are a 2 willpower and we are testing 3. So obviously we will throw guts in for that. I don't want to commit unexpected courage. We'll just throw in the guts. So that gives us a 4 versus a 3. Chaos Bag gives us a +1, so we succeed. Rotting Remains are not a problem for Amanda, and I think we draw a card. Yep, we draw a card and we get Hyper Awareness. Well, that's good. Okay. All right, I can see we can spend some money here. All right, so there we go. That was all good. We didn't actually draw an enemy, so that was all good. So we get 3 actions on to Amanda. Now, first thing we do is we get rid of the barrier. So that you discard. Sorry, you're supposed to do it the other way, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So we draw a card. So we get to draw a card. Discard the card beneath Amanda and then choose a card to place beneath her. All right, we've got a knife, so that's good. So we've got to choose something to put underneath her. Oh, this is... See, I want to bring out these 2. I obviously want to play the knife, so I want to play all of these. So that doesn't leave us with much, really. You see, the problem is with hyper-awareness, I kind of want to play it out on the table because at least we can evade the Ghoul Priest at the very least. Ooh. I've just realized, of course, that if you use deduction, you would get the additional clue. So let's put that in. Let's stick that underneath. So that's really quite powerful here because not in the gathering, but you could, if you could get to it, like for example, for example, if there was 4 clues at a location, you could use this really quite nicely. So, or one of those events where you've got lots of clues. I'm thinking of Blood on the Altar, where you've got to get a ton of clues towards the end of that. This could be a really powerful move. Anyway, so we'll put that underneath. So there we go. So we will throw in the 2 clues. Okay. So we'll flip trapped. You notice the edges of your newly purchased rug are tattered and mud-stained. Finding this odd, you shift the furniture aside and pull back the rug. To your surprise, you see a door leading out of your study. You slowly turn the knob, and the door swings open, revealing your hallway below. You jump through the doorway, landing on your feet on soft dirt. The door to the study slams shut. Above you, the smell of burning wood fills the narrow hall, intermingled with the scent of rot and decay. So we put out the hallway, cellar, attic, and parlor, discard the enemies in the study, and discard the study. And we move into the hallway. So we move into the hallway. Bonk. Flip that. Dunk. Study goes. Dunk. It goes. Dunk. Okay. And so we are up to the barrier. A glowing barrier blocks the path to your parlor. As you move toward it, intense heat forces you to back away. Picking up a handful of dirt, you toss it at the barrier and watch in horror as the dirt incinerates. Perhaps there's something in the cellar or attic that can help. Objective: when the round ends, investigators in the hallway may, as a group, spend the requisite number of clues to advance. There we go. So here we are. We are in the hallway. So first action, we will move up to the attic. Yep. Second action, I am going to commit something to the table now because I want to get these. Oh, there's 2 clues there. Sorry if I'm getting ahead of myself. Yes, up to the attic. Amanda's never seen such a pile of haberdashery, paint, home butchery in her life, and takes a horror. Now, we've got 2 actions left. I can use deduction and the magnifying glass and whatnot to get this clue, but the first thing I want to do is I do want to make sure I've got a way of fighting. So I'm going to bring out the knife because I just want to make sure I've got that on the table. Yes. Because then that means we're fighting with at least 3, so we've got a chance against a ghoul minion or something. Ghoul minion. And then for our final action, let's go ahead and investigate. So we are investigating at a shroud of 1. We are a 2, 3, 4. We're a 4. I'm not going to commit anything else. So 4 versus a 1, -3 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, so that's a 0. So we succeed. And we discover both clues because of deduction. That's very nice. Fantastic. So we get the first victory point. Crowd goes wild. Yeah. So that worked out really well. We got to use deduction. We would have used it anyway, I suppose. So it wasn't such a big thing, but it seemed like the best choice at the time. We had to choose something. Okay, so pretty good round. We got ourselves out the study. We got ourselves up to the attic. Took a horror, obviously. We then played the knife, so we were at least able to defend ourselves adequately. And we then used deduction and the magnifying glass to get both clues in the attic. So we're well on our way. It's only turn 2, doing pretty well so far. Again, I think the challenge is going to be getting ourselves set up to take on the Ghoul Priest. Okay, so that's the end of that. So we move into the that was the investigation phase. We move into the enemy phase. No enemies to speak of. We move into upkeep and we get plan of action. Plan of action. Yes. Yeah, there we go. So, pretty good card to put underneath. Because if we put it underneath, it would be our third turn by the time we got to the cellar. So that then makes it 2 intellect. So we'll be playing at a 2, 4, 5, about a 5. Yeah. So that's pretty good. Anyway. Okay. So that's our upkeep phase. Let's move into the Mythos phase. There are 2 Doom down. Let's see what the encounter deck has, and it has Frozen in Fear. Oh boy, that was not card we wanted to get. Does this give us... Oh, yeah. But that's at the beginning. Yeah. See, this is the problem with this card. It's a bit... boy, this is a problem. This is a problem because we're only at 2 willpower. This is 3. So we've got to kind of play to try and deal with that. And the only card that's going to help us with that really is Unexpected Courage. Anyway, because otherwise we're just going to be frozen in fear the whole time. Well, it's better to get it now than when the Ghoul Priest comes out. But anyway, okay. We are frozen in fear. Yep. Let's move into the investigation phase. 3 actions onto Amanda. Now we draw a card. Yeah, we draw the card first. It's the Old Book of Lore. Old Book of Lore. Yeah, probably a card we want to keep. So we've got to put something. Deduction goes. We've got to put something underneath here. And we don't have a guts. You could put the Old Book of Lore under here, which would give us a 3, but that's just a 3 versus a 3. And then we throw in the Unexpected Courage. So I think we're going to have to deal with it because I don't want it hanging around. So we're going to put the Unexpected Courage underneath. Yep. So, okay. Now the question is here is do we what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? We could So the problem is that moving is just going to be inefficient. So we could, I suppose we could bring out hyper awareness, for example, and the flashlight, which we're going to need. Or do we move? But if we move, it's going to take 2 actions. Then we could get ourselves into the cellar. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Keep moving. So we will spend 2 actions to move into the hallway, and then we'll spend another action to get ourselves into the cellar. Flip the cellar. So we are so busy messing around, looking through the Old Book of Lore for things that we don't watch what we're doing, and we slip down the stairs, tumble down, and we take a damage. Ouch. Two clues onto the cellar. So that's the end of our go, because we were frozen in fear. So now we can test. We can test here. So this is a test of 3, and we are a 4. So we're a 4 versus a 3. I really need to get rid of this. So the question is, that's not going to help. Do we exhaust the old book? I mean, the old book of law could be really handy, but then it's going to cost 3. It'd be really good to have it out. But if we're still frozen in fear, we really need to deal with this. And we're only 4 versus 3. We're only 1 up. So it's either we throw this in, plan of action, or we use the old book of law. I probably... See, the problem with the plan of action is it's a bit situational, really. So I'm going to throw that in. So that gives us a 5 versus a 3. Let's see what the Chaos Bag has. Chaos Bag gives us -1. So we succeed and we get rid of the frozen in fear, which is good. Whew. Okay, so that was a bit of a... I mean, we got ourselves into the cellar and we got rid of our frozen in fear. So next time we can start to get these clues. So we move into the enemy phase, no enemies. So we move into upkeep and we get perception. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. Wow, that's really good. Yeah, so we will move into the Mythos phase. There we go. That's the 3 doom. So we will get those down and we will flip that. Your house continues to change before your very eyes. The walls have decayed and the ground in many rooms has turned to dirt. It's almost as if you've been transported somewhere else entirely, although every now and again you recognize elements of your former home. Ah, there's my Miskatonic University study guide. I wondered where that was. Ah, there's my membership of the debating society. I wondered where that had gone. So we either must discard a card at random, or take 2 horror. We will be taking the 2 horror. I really don't want to be losing anything. So we'll take the 2 horror. And we are Rise of the Ghouls. The floor beneath you is giving way, and you see a vast network of tunnels twisting into the darkness below. Shapes and silhouettes of strange creatures move swiftly through the tunnels, trying to find a way up. You probably don't want to be here when they do. There we go. All right. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. And of course, it's come up with Crypt Chill, which, to be honest, well, no, not to be honest. Actually, I've just realised that it would be good to keep these. So, however, luckily we've got Unexpected Courage under here. So it's a 4 versus a 4. It's a 4 versus a 4. I mean, I could commit the old book of law, but I'm thinking that would be a good card to bring out. So, which make it a 4. I think we just do 4 versus a 4. I don't want to throw in the old book of law. Do we really need the old book of law? I don't know that we need the old book of law, because it's going to cost us 3. Then it's going to take us a go to start searching through things. We're just going to be drawing cards anyway. I mean, it would allow us to avoid cards we don't want, I guess. But it also takes up a hand slot. But we're not going to need the magnifying glass after this. You know what? I'm just going to see what happens. -4. It's a good job we didn't try even. Okay, so we fail. So we either lose the magnifying glass or the knife. The magnifying glass is gone. There we go. All right. Okay, so let's move into the investigation phase. So we draw a card and we get the deep knowledge. There we go. Now we'll get rid of Unexpected Courage and we will put Perception underneath for obvious reasons. Yes. Okay, 3 actions onto Amanda. Okay, now if we don't bring out the flashlight, we'll be operating at a 4 versus a 4. So, yeah. So I think the first action we will spend 2. We'll bring out the flashlight. 3 supplies. That's our first action. Second action, we will investigate with the flashlight. So that reduces the shroud to 2, and we're a 4. I don't think we need to commit anything else. So it's a 2 versus a 4. 2 versus a 4. Chaos Bag gives us -2. So we succeed. Great. And because we succeed, we draw a card. That's just really, really amazing, that, isn't it? We get an emergency cash. All right. And we'll do it again. So we will use the flashlight again. And we will investigate again. And we get the Elder Sign. Yay! Okay. Double, yeah, what we did anyway. So there we go. So we get the other one. And we get to draw a card again. And we get Overpower. Very nice. That is a great card to get because that could be really handy with the Ghoul Priest committed underneath. Great. Fantastic. And yes, the crowd goes wild because, of course, we get our second victory point. That's great. Okay. So what we need to do now is we really need to think about what the hell we're going to do with the Ghoul Priest, because we're going to need to fight the Ghoul Priest, but we really need to be in a position where we can get Lita Chandler as well. So I don't... I guess hyper awareness, and so we've got hyper awareness and emergency cash. So we've got hyper awareness out. We can evade the Ghoul Priest. We can spend money to also get Lita Chandler on board. So and then once we do that, we've got the knife. We've got overpower. So the overpower would last for 3 turns. We'll be doing 3 points of damage. 3 points or 2? No, 2 points of damage each time. So I think that's the state of play. I think that's what we do. We get ourselves into the hallway. We get our hyper awareness. We spend emergency cash. I think we're in a good place. Okay, so there we go. That was all good. Things are actually going really well, actually, for Amanda. Much better than I thought. Okay, let's move into the enemy phase. There are, of course, no enemies to speak of. We'll move into upkeep. Oh, and we get Day of Reckoning. Okay, so that sits on the agenda, and the agenda is barely started, so it's going to be there for a while. We will get the Elder Sign token out. Where is it? Oh, it's there. Bloody hell. It's there. Oh, it's now disappeared. Yeah, funny. Oh, it's at the back. What? Center back. Okay. Put that on there. Seal token. So it's sealed onto there. And it's going to be there for a while. In fact, I probably won't see it, but it's no big deal, really. Okay, but it's, anyway. Okay, it is what it is. All right, let's. That's the end of the upkeep phase. So let's move into the Mythos phase. First Doom is down on the Rise of the Ghouls. The encounter deck. Hello. The encounter deck gives us another Rotting Remains. Well, that's not going to be any help for that. So we are a 2 versus a 3. We can commit Deep Knowledge, and we can commit the Old Book of Law. I think we don't want to be taking much horror. We've already got 3. So that gives us a 2, 3, 4. That gives us a 4 versus a 3, 1 up. Chaos Bag gives us a tablet, -2. If there's good, there isn't, but we do take 1 horror. Could have been worse. There we go. All right. Okay, so Rotting Remains gone. All right, so we will move into the investigation phase. 3 actions on to Amanda. She's starting to feel a little bit shaky about the whole thing, but she's doing okay. We're doing okay. First action, we will move back to the hallway. Second action. Oh, I just realized. Sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Perception goes, and we draw a card. We've got to put something under. Well, we're not going to be using the research librarian, so I'm just going to... It's a bullshit thing, I'm sorry, but we're just going to have to put that under. All right, let's go. So first action, we will move to the hallway. The second action, we will spend emergency cash. So that gives us 8. Third action, we will spend 2 of those. And we will bring out hyper awareness. Okay. So there we go. Getting a bit low on cards now. So that's not great. However, we've got the right cards. Pretty much. So I think we can go ahead. Yeah. So the question is now we're in turn 5. Let's just so that was we moved to the hallway. We spent our emergency cash. We brought out hyper awareness. That's our go. We move into the enemy phase. There's no enemies to speak of, so we move into upkeep. We get a perception. Right. So that's good. So the question is, do we wait? Or do we throw in the clues? Now, normally, I would wait because with 1 overpower, we're not going to be able to fight the Ghoul Priest. However, because of Amanda's special ability, we can use overpower 3 times. I still can't believe this special ability. It's quite a, commit the card. Do not discard it when the test ends. So you basically get to use it 3 times. So that means we are set up, so I don't see why we can't. So let's throw in the clues. There we go. We will flip this. So, using the barrel from the attic, you carry ice and snow from the cellar and hurl it at the barrier. The barrier sparks and shudders as it consumes the ice and then hisses and fades out of existence. The barrier blocking the passage into the parlour has vanished. Reveal the parlour. Put Lita Chandler into play in the parlour and spawn the set-aside Ghoul Priest. So yes, Lita Chandler goes into the parlour. Hello. Oh, hello, Amanda. Oh, yes, I think we can bash this Ghoul Priest to death. Oh, wouldn't that be lovely? And also, hello, Amanda. What have we got here? Knife. Rubbish. Flashlight. Rubbish. But you seem like your eyes are more focused than normal. Have you been taking funny substances? Anyway, so that's the Ghoul Priest. Okay, so we are now at What Have You Done? A woman with a torch stands in her parlour, a glimmer of hatred in her eyes. What have you done to my barrier? She screams, furious. But before you can answer, a ghastly wail sounds behind you, and a creature wearing robes and a deer skull mask tears through the wall, advancing toward you. If the Ghoul Priest is defeated, advance. So there we go. We're moving forward here. So we're in the Mythos phase. There are 2 Doom down. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. And it's got another Rotting Remains. I cannot believe it. And that's not going to be helpful for that as either. We can't commit anything to this. We can't use our hyper awareness. So I've just realized this actually could be the end. We could be defeated because there's no way of offsetting this. We've got no way. So we are a 2 versus a 3. So we're already 1 down and there's no Elder Sign. Oh boy. Okay. Chaos Bag gives us a skull. Ooh. So that's -1. So we're a 1 versus a 3. So we take 2 horror. Wow. 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 That's right, isn't it? So we were a 2. We got a skull, which is a -1. So that gives us a 1 versus a 3. Wow. That's been really... Horror's been really nasty in this game. We've just survived that. Oh boy, okay. Wow. All right, we will move into the investigation phase. 3 actions on to Amanda. Okay, what are we going to do here? Well, obviously, we can't take an attack of opportunity from the Ghoul Priest. So, hold on. Before we do anything, we've got to draw a card. Another manual dexterity. That goes. So we've got a choice here. We can either... so we could put perception under there. Or do we put manual dexterity under there? I think we put manual dexterity under there because if we fail to evade the Ghoul Priest the first time, we can try again. And yes, we've got 2 manual dexterities, I guess. Whereas with perception, we really evade, move, parley. So we're only going to use perception once anyway. So it's not like we would use it multiple times. So I think it's better to put manual dexterity under. Okay, so we will put manual dexterity underneath. Good. So our first action is to evade the Ghoul Priest. So we are a 4 versus a 4. We can't commit another manual dexterity, but we can commit to this. So we're a 4 versus a 4, so we can make it a 5, a 6, a 7. A 7 versus 4. Do we make it an 8 versus 4? No, because we can do it again. So we make it a 7 versus 4. Chaos Bag gives us -2. Whew. So we succeed. Where have you gone? Amanda, come back. And because we succeed, we draw a card. We get Mind Over Matter. Interesting. Whether we use that or not, I'm not sure. But anyway, so that was our first action. Our second action is to move to the parlor. And our third action is to parley. So now we're testing 4 and we are a 2. But we can make that a 6. Yeah, we can make that a 6. So that makes us a 6 versus a 4. 7, 8 with hyper awareness. So that gives us an 8 versus a 4. So as long as we don't auto fail, we're fine. Chaos Bag gives us a +1. Oh yes, of course. You don't have to say anything, Amanda. So we bring Lita Chandler on board. We draw another card. Oh, jeez. Ah, well, never mind. And we got Whispers of the Deep. Okay, so that was all pretty successful, I have to say. We managed to evade the Ghoul Priest. We then moved and we successfully parleyed, so we have Lita Chandler on board. Unfortunately, we have drawn Whispers of the Deep. Yes, so there we go. All right, we will deal with that when the time comes. So let's move into the enemy phase. No enemies to speak of, so we will move into upkeep and we get Guts. I guess we get another Rotting Remains. Yeah, we've got some way to deal with it. Well, we've got Lita Chandler now, I suppose. Ghoul Priest is like, where's she? Where's she? She's in the parlor. And then we'll move into the Mythos phase. There are now 3 Doom down. Let's see what the encounter deck has. The encounter deck has, Ancient Evils, so another Doom goes down. So there we go. We will move into the investigation phase. Now, first thing we do is we draw a card. That goes out, and Whispers of the Deep goes under, which is really bad. Really bad. That couldn't have come at a worse time because basically because. So that's really bad. I mean, we've now got both of our weaknesses out, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. Yes. So, we don't want to be fighting the Ghoul Priest at all while we've got Whispers of the Deep under, because we need to put Overpower under, and we can't do that. So we've basically got to kind of just wait it out. We can't defeat the Ghoul Priest this time. So the best thing to do is... So we've got two choices. We could move to the hallway and look to evade the Ghoul Priest, because we're not going to be looking to evade again, probably. So that's probably... Because otherwise we're sitting around in the parlor and then he's going to get an attack of opportunity on us. And all we've really got to do is just deal with a -1 here. So, yeah, I think that's what we do. Because we've got the Research Librarian and we've got Manual Dexterity. I'm not going to use that because I want the fight pips. So let me think about this. We are a 2. So that would make us a 4. That would make us a 5. -1 would make us a 4. But then we can increase it, and we're not going to be using that to fight the Ghoul Priest. So yeah, let's do it. So 3 actions onto Amanda. First action, we're going to wander back into the hallway. There you go.
Oh, there you are. Where have you been? Oh.
Hello, Lita.
Oh, hello, Ghoulie. How are you? Ooh, I'm feeling very overpowered today. I think you're in for a bit of trouble.
Now, that's the first action. Second action, we will seek to evade the Ghoul Priest. So we will commit these cards. Like I said, that gives us a 2, 3, 4, 5, but also Whispers of the Deep, so that makes it a 4. But we can boost that up and make that a 5, make that a 6, make that a 7. So that gives us a 7 versus a 4, -3 or better. Chaos Bag. Wow. Okay. So we succeed.
Where have you both gone? Where are you hiding?
There we go. So they're gone. We draw a card. Oh, Unexpected Courage. Brilliant. Hello? There we go. So we got Unexpected Courage. So we've got 1 action left. I think the best thing to do is, well, we've got a couple of things we could do. We could attack the Ghoul Priest, but weirdly that's not a good idea because we want the Overpower under here, and then we can commit other cards to the fight. Whereas if we do it now, we're only a 2, so we would have to, we're a 3. No, we're a 4. So we're a 4 versus a 4, so I could just try and get a free hit on him. Why don't we do that? Well, let's just do that. Sorry, I forget. We're a 2, but we're using a knife. 3. Lita Chandler, 4. Oh no, Dreams of the Deep would make it a 3. I mean, we could commit this and make it a 4 and a 5, but then I want to keep those for when we're using Overpower. Yeah, no. Let's just draw a card. Plan of action. Okay. All right. Okay. So there we go. We moved back to the hallway. We successfully evaded the Ghoul Priest, and then we just drew a card. So we were ready to take on the Ghoul Priest next time. Yep. Okay. So we move into the enemy phase. Enemies are evaded. So we move into upkeep, and we get working a hunch, which is completely useless. Ghoul Priest.
Oh, there you are. You guys keep disappearing and appearing. Will you stop? I want to bash ya.
So there we go. So we get that in the upkeep phase. So we move into the Mythos phase. There are 5 Doom down. Let's see what the encounter deck has. The encounter deck has, oh, here we go. Grasping Hands this time. Okay, so, all right. So we are a 2. In fact, we're operating at a 1 with Grasping Hands. You know what? Let's just do it. Let's just take the consequences. Chaos Bag gives us another +1. That is so weird. Is it another +1? Let me just check it a few times. Oh, no. Okay. So we get another +1, which means we 2. That's a 2 versus a 3, so we still take a damage. There we go. That's Grasping Hands. Okay, it is now time to take on the Ghoul Priest, so that's our go. So we will move into the investigation phase. 3 actions on to Amanda. So here we go. We are ready to roll. So the first thing is, though, we've got to draw a card. Emergency cash. We've got to take the Dreams of the Deep out from under. So that's great. Thank God it doesn't stay there forever. Now we've got to choose something to put under. We will put Overpower underneath. So there we go. And we are ready to roll. So we're going to be fighting with the knife. We're going to be fighting with the knife. So first action, we're going to fight. So we are 2 plus Overpower is 4. Plus the knife, 5. Lita Chandler, 6. 6 versus a 4. Well, 6 versus a 4. Let's make that a 7 versus a 4. Or do we make it an 8 versus a 4? Yeah, let's make it an 8 versus a 4. Okay, so we're making it an 8 versus a 4. Chaos Bag gives us a -3. 8. But -3 is a 5. So that's a success. So we draw a card because of that. Now Milan Christopher comes out. So that means we do 2 points of damage because we don't do that for the knife unless we throw it. So that's 2 points of damage. Ow! First action. Second action, we will do that again. So we are talking about a 4, a 5, a 6. A 6 versus a 4. Let's make that an 8 with Unexpected Courage. So that gives us an 8 versus a 4. An 8 versus a 4. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed again. Ow! So we've got 1 action left. Now, so again, the Overpower. So we are a 4. So we are a 4. We're a 6. Now I'm going to commit Plan of Action. Now this says if this skill test is during or after the 3rd action, it gets a fight. So we get 2 fight pips on here. So it's actually worked. Situational, but it's worked this time. So we get 2. So we're 8. We're again, once again, an 8 versus a 4. The crowd is hushed as Amanda opens the briefcase with the Plan of Action in it. Lita Chandler waves her torch and the knife. And yeah! Ah! There we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Ghoul Priest falls in turn 8. Well, there we go. So that went really, really well, really. I didn't think that would go as well as it did. In fact, Amanda Sharpe was blisteringly fast. The only thing that slowed her down was that she needed to get Lita Chandler, so that took some time. But apart from that, it went really, really well. You can see that in the right circumstances, this is really powerful with these neutral cards because it allows you to play them 3 times as if you've got 3 of them in your hand, which is just amazing. It's almost too amazing in a way, but yeah. Start a skill test, commit the card beneath Amanda Sharpe. If able, do not discard it when the test ends. So you get to keep it. So that was really fantastic. Managed to defeat the Ghoul Priest by turn 8. Not as fast as Sister Mary, but getting up there. Turn 8's pretty good. No extra ones, of course, so she'll be with the 6. So I don't know where that will place her in the actual table, but you can see that after this. So thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Now, next time, we will be taking Trish Scarborough through the gathering. She's the rogue investigator for the Innsmouth conspiracy, and we will see how she goes. But until then, I'm Krabby Terror 8. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.